The year is 900 AD. Somewhere on the North Atlantic, 80 longships cut through black water under a gray sky. 5,000 Norse warriors sit shoulder to shoulder on rowing benches, their breath visible in the cold. Among them, 500 berserkers gnaw the rims of their shields and howl at nothing. They have been sailing west for weeks, following currents and ravens into the unknown. They expect to find a coastline of forest and mud, scattered villages, easy plunder. They are about to find Manhattan. The Hudson River appears through a wall of pre-dawn fog at 5:47 on a Tuesday morning. The first longship glides past the Statue of Liberty in gray half-light. The helmsman stares up at the copper figure and grips his tiller with white knuckles. Behind him, 79 more vessels emerge from the mist in a staggered column stretching half a mile. And then the skyline appears. Glass towers rise 1,000 feet into the clouds ahead, catching the first orange light of sunrise. The berserkers stop howling. For 3 full seconds, the entire fleet is silent. Then the war drums start again. Now. Before we write this off as a slaughter in one direction or the other, we need to establish the actual terms of this engagement. New York City has 36,000 NYPD officers, 17,000 National Guard soldiers on call, 3 Coast Guard cutters in the harbor, 9 police helicopters, and 8.3 million civilians who are about to have the worst morning commute of their lives. The Vikings have 5,000 warriors with Iron Age weapons, no knowledge of firearms, and no understanding of electricity, and absolutely zero capacity for retreat. Those berserkers are not going to stop when they hear gunfire. They are going to interpret it as thunder magic from a worthy enemy and charge directly into it. That changes the math in ways that matter. Manhattan is an island 13 miles long and 2 miles wide, built on a street grid of long, straight avenues and short cross streets. For a force with rifles and machine guns, those avenues are shooting galleries with sightlines stretching 300 meters or more. But Manhattan also has 10,000 restaurants, 50,000 storefronts, 472 subway stations, and millions of doorways. For a force that fights at arm's length with axes, there is cover every 15 feet. This battle will be decided by one question. Can the Vikings close the distance before modern firepower makes it irrelevant? Let's talk about what 5,000 Norse warriors actually bring to a fight. The standard Viking raider of 900 AD carries a round shield roughly 3 feet across, made of linden wood with an iron boss at the center. He wears a chainmail hauberk weighing roughly 30 pounds, an iron helmet, and leather boots. His primary weapon is either a sword, a spear, or the devastating Dane axe, a single-bit blade mounted on a shaft 5 feet long, capable of splitting a man from collarbone to hip. The berserkers are something else entirely. 500 of them form the vanguard, wearing animal pelts instead of armor, their faces painted or scarred, their pupils dilated from rituals involving amanita mushrooms and mead. The berserker state is not a myth. It is a documented psychological and chemical phenomenon. These men do not feel pain. They do not recognize danger. They will charge a machine gun the same way they would charge a shield wall. They have one tremendous advantage. At a range of 0 to 3 feet, a Dane axe is faster than a Glock 17. Now let's talk about what is waiting for them on shore. The NYPD morning shift begins at 600 hours. Patrol officers carry Glock 17 pistols firing 9mm rounds from 15-round magazines, effective to 50 meters. Specialized units carry pump-action shotguns and AR-15 pattern rifles effective to 300 meters. 2,000 patrol vehicles are on the streets at any given time. 9 helicopters operate from the NYPD Aviation Unit at Floyd Bennett Field. The New York National Guard maintains 17,000 soldiers equipped with M4 carbines, M249, light machine guns firing 750 rounds per minute, armored Humvees, and M250 caliber machine guns that can tear through oak planking like cardboard. In the harbor, 3 Coast Guard cutters mount 25mm Bushmaster autocannons that fire 175 rounds per minute. Modern radio communication means that the moment the first 911 call goes out, every unit in the 5 boroughs knows what is happening within 60 seconds. The Vikings have war horns. Phase 1. Landfall. 0 to 10 minutes, the 80 longships beach simultaneously along the Hudson River piers between 42nd and 59th Street, where their shallow drafts allow them to slide directly onto the concrete waterfront with a grinding shriek of oak on stone. 500 berserkers vault over the gunnels before the ships have fully stopped. They hit the West Side Highway screaming. Dock workers loading a produce truck at Pier 88 look up and see a wall of fur-clad men sprinting toward them with axes. They run. Everyone runs. A taxi driver on 12th Avenue slams his brakes as a berserker buries a Dane axe into his hood. The first 911 call comes in at 5:51. The dispatcher hears screaming and what sounds like a Renaissance fair gone catastrophically wrong. 4 minutes later, two NYPD patrol cars screech to a halt at the intersection of 12th Avenue and 50th Street. 4 officers step out with Glocks drawn. They see 30 berserkers sprinting toward them from 200 feet away. The officers open fire. The first 3 berserkers drop instantly, 9mm rounds punching through bare chests. The fourth takes 2 rounds to the torso and keeps coming for another 40 feet before collapsing. The remaining berserkers do not slow down. They do not flinch. They scream louder. The officers empty their magazines. 11 more berserkers fall. The rest close the gap. 1 officer is killed by a Dane axe before he can reload. His partner fires her last round into a berserker's face at contact distance. Backup arrives 30 seconds later, but the pattern is set. Phase 2. Street fighting. 10 to 45 minutes. 500 berserkers pour into Midtown Manhattan like water through a broken dam. The NYPD establishes a perimeter along 8th Avenue, officers crouching behind patrol cars with AR-15 rifles. On the wide avenues, it is a massacre. Vikings charging in the open are cut down at 100 meters. Bodies pile up at the intersection of 8th and 50th. But the cross streets are only 60 feet wide, lined with parked cars and scaffolding and dumpsters. Berserkers learn to move through them in seconds, darting between cover without understanding what cover is, by simply running where the thunder seems quieter. A group of 40 berserkers reaches Times Square. They stare up at the blazing LED billboards, axes slack at their sides for almost 2 seconds. Then an NYPD ESU truck rounds the corner, and they charge it. Inside buildings, the calculus shifts further. A berserker crashes through the glass door of a Starbucks on 47th Street and kills 2 people before an off-duty officer shoots him from behind the counter. In a subway entrance at 50th Street, 3 berserkers descend into the fluorescent underground. The confined space, the low ceiling, the crowds of fleeing commuters blocking lines of fire. 2 transit officers die before the berserkers are stopped at the bottom of the stairs. NYPD aviation circles overhead, feeding real-time intelligence. Every berserker cluster is tracked. The alert goes out to the New York National Guard at 6:15, Phase 3. The Guard arrives 45 minutes to 2 hours. National Guard units begin deploying from the Lexington Avenue Armory at 6:40. M249 light machine guns are set up at intersections along 6th Avenue, covering 600 feet of open street in each direction. The effect is immediate and absolute. A column of 300 Norse warriors, the main body finally organized behind their berserker vanguard, turns onto 6th Avenue from 48th Street. The M249 opens fire. 750 rounds per minute of 5.56mm ammunition hit a formation of men wearing chainmail designed to stop swords. The chainmail does nothing. 40 warriors fall in the first 4 seconds. The rest charge. They make it 90 feet before the second gun opens up from a cross angle. The long, straight avenues of Manhattan, the very grid that makes the city navigable, become killing fields 200 meters deep. The berserker charge that could shatter a Saxon shield wall at Brunanburh cannot cross a New York City block. Phase 4. Harbor interdiction, 1 to 2 hours. On the Hudson River, the longship fleet sits beached and undefended. 3 Coast Guard cutters round the southern tip of Manhattan at 7:20. Their 25mm Bushmaster autocannons open fire from 800 meters. A single round punches through the hull of a longship and exits the other side, leaving a hole the size of a dinner plate. The clinker, built oak planking, designed to flex in North Atlantic swells, splinters like balsa wood. 60 longships are sunk or burning within 30 minutes. Viking sailors who stayed with the ships leap into the Hudson. The November water temperature is 48 degrees. Behind the burning fleet, the Statue of Liberty stands in silhouette, impassive. Phase 5, collapse. 2 to 4 hours. By 8:30, it is over in everything but fact. The surviving Vikings are compressed into a 6-block pocket between 8th and 10th Avenue, bounded by 48th and 52nd Street. National Guard Humvees block every intersection. M250 caliber machine guns cover the avenues. NYPD helicopters hover above, their rotors a sound no Viking has a framework to understand. The last 200 berserkers are still alive. They are still fighting. A group of 80 makes a final charge east on 50th Street toward an M249 emplacement on the steps of Madison Square Garden. They run screaming, axes raised, pelts streaming behind them, directly into interlocking fields of automatic fire. Not one of them makes it within 30 feet. The last berserker dies at 9:41 in the morning, swinging a Dane axe at a National Guard Humvee. He leaves a dent in the door. Final count. Of the 5,000 Norse warriors who beached on Manhattan's west side, approximately 4,800 are dead. The remaining 200 are wounded and captured, most of them conventional warriors who surrendered after the Berserker vanguard was annihilated. NYPD losses stand at 120 killed and over 300 wounded, almost entirely from the first 45 minutes of close-quarters street fighting before the National Guard arrived. Approximately 200 civilians are dead, killed in the initial panic, in subway stations, in storefronts, in the stampede to flee Midtown. The Vikings never made it past 10th Avenue. 60 of their 80 longships burn on the Hudson. The entire engagement lasted 3 hours and 50 minutes. Here is what this tells us. The Berserker Charge was the most feared infantry tactic in 9th century Europe for good reason. It broke professional armies. It shattered morale. It turned battles in seconds. Against firearms with effective range measured in hundreds of meters, it becomes a sprint across open ground against automatic weapons. The math is not survivable, but those first 45 minutes were real. Ward in tight spaces, in doorways, in subway tunnels, individual berserkers killed trained officers because a Dane axe at arm's length does not care what century you are from. The Vikings lost because they could not adapt to a technological gap of 1,100 years, but they never stopped trying. Not one berserker retreated. That part, at least, the sagas got right. Next time. What if a single F-22 Raptor appeared over the Battle of Britain?